taking the time to be here today. I'm Max Lyman.
And I'm Ben Blute.
And this is Solon. So the real problem with decentralization is one of a few things. First off, there's an extremely high financial barrier to entry. The majority of people who really need decentralization are those who live in countries with large amounts of corruption and high inflation. And they can't afford average gas fees of $5 to $50 on Ethereum mainnet or on layer 2s like Arbitrum of Optimism of 50 cents per transaction. Also, we're never going to see blockchain technology become a part of our daily lives until it's as seamless as Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. There's a bunch of really cool proposed solutions, but none of them really solve the problems. One of them, Immutable X, which is a scaling solution. They're layer 2, like Arbitrum or Optimism. But what they do differently is users on Immutable X don't have to pay any gas fees. They also aren't required to transact in a volatile asset like Ethereum. And by removing these two factors, it allows for a more seamless route of integration, where users can build decentralized protocols on Immutable X that are like an Instagram or a Facebook and almost as seamless. But the real issue is, one, users have to bridge back and forth to get on Immutable X, and we've seen multiple over $100 million hacks involving bridges. And also, Immutable X eats the cost of gas. Finally, it's a closed ecosystem, so all the liquidity on Immutable X is on Immutable X, and they're fairly centralized. Another cool protocol, CowSwap, functions based off the coincidence of wants, and I'll give you a quick example. A coincidence of wants would be if I want to swap 1 ETH for 1,000 US dollar coin, and Ben wants to swap 1,000 US dollar coin for 1 ETH, that'd be a coincidence of wants. And since it's a much more simple interaction, a transfer, versus a more complicated smart contract interaction, like a liquidity pool, it uses less gas. It's more gas efficient. So you can have about a 50% reduction in gas, but the real problem is it's only in high volume pairs like WETH USDC. Most pairs you won't find a coincidence of wants on CowSwap. Ultimately, they're a fairly new protocol, and there's no real incentivization to trade on CowSwap over a Uniswap, Bounce, or Bancor in the first place, unless it's an extremely high volume pair. They also trade only with Ether and ERC20s. Our solution, Solon, is really cool because not only do we have the coincidence of wants when it's more viable, but also our ecosystem's dependent largely on arbitrage. Every single decentralized exchange on the Ethereum blockchain balances the price of their assets based on arbitrage. These exchanges are also closed ecosystems. All of their liquidity is contained on their smart contracts. We take advantage of the organization of these ecosystems and kind of act as a layer 0 for all decentralized exchanges and marketplaces. The way Solon works is, since signatures on Ethereum mainnet are free, a user can submit a signature containing their parameters for trade. As an example, let's say I want to swap 1 ETH for 1,000 US dollar coin. My input parameter would be 1 Ethereum, output at least 1,000 US dollar coin, and finally I'd select a bundler. A bundler is a professional arbitrage trader. I just sign them permission on my behalf to file this order as long as they can give me at least 1,000 US dollar coin. This bundler takes my orders and a bunch of other, bundles them all together, and looks for the best arbitrage opportunity on the blockchain. If it's crypto, whether that's Uniswap, Bounce, or Bancor, etc., NFTs, Uniswap looks, OpenSea looks rare, etc., looking for the best arbitrage opportunity. And let's say, as an example, they can find one where they can swap 1 ETH for 1,025 US dollar coin. Let's say the gas fee was about $15. They pay the gas fee on them and the user's behalf. They have a roughly $10 profit left over, and the user gets their 1,000 US dollar coin relatively for free. And the bundler is actually incentivized to share this profit with the user, because users select whatever bundlers they want to work with, and ultimately they're going to pick whatever ones have the best returns. The real trade-off in our ecosystem is time. Ultimately, if you place an order and expect for it to be completely feeless, that order could take hours or days or potentially even weeks to execute. Ultimately, a bundler is not going to execute your order unless they can be profitable in doing so. They're paying the gas fee. If you wanted to execute an order instantly, you would just have to factor in the cost of gas. If you were willing to wait a few minutes, you would get a nice reduction in the cost of gas. But ultimately, since we incorporate the coincidence of wants, that can be a more viable solution too. Our protocol also allows for trading of any combinations of Ether, ERC20s, 721s, and 1155s. So I could do a trade on Solon like, I want to swap 20,000 Uniswap token, a doodle, and a mutant ape for a Bored Ape, just as an example. And that's it. This QR code is a link to our Discord if you'd like to join, and there's more information here. Thank you.
Thank you. So first question is, how many people are using it?
So we're not deploying until roughly September. Ultimately, the goal is by removing gas fees and the requirement for users to hold a volatile asset like Ethereum, users will be able to develop more seamless integrations on Ethereum mainnet and on other L2s like Arbitrum or Optimism, where you could create like a decentralized Instagram or Twitter or whatever on Ethereum mainnet or an Arbitrum without the complexity of gas or the requirement to hold Ether. We're going to be deploying probably roughly in September, if I had to guess, but we already sold 2,186 NFTs as our, I guess you could call it our pre-seed. Ben came up with the number, and we raised $400,000 doing that.
Awesome. Questions from Peanut Gallery?
So how are you dealing with volatility? If there's time is your pain point and you're trading something for an NFT or some stable coin for another liquid asset, and the window of time becomes like sensitive and the movement of the asset's value is changing. Is that just managed by the arbitrage or the protocol?
Yeah, so if you make a trade and you set certain input and output values, and then the price drastically changes in one direction or the other, then you're either going to make some money off that trade or the trade is not going to go through. So if you, it's very similar to Ethereum or Bitcoin, like gas auctions, where if you want, if it's a very important transaction you want to go through immediately and you want to guarantee that it goes through, then you have to provide a bit more money to pay for that gas if there happens to be volatility.
Just one quick follow-on. So do you give visibility through your protocol in terms of like a price point that is optimal to be short in time, but yet, financially not crazy and to have quickly?
Yeah, the prices are all going to be automatically calculated for the user, so they won't actually have to input any of that information unless they want to.
And then they'll also receive like outputs like, hey, if I want to execute my order instantly, I'm going to receive this amount of US dollar coin back instead of, let's say 1,000, I might receive 990, right? But if I'm willing to wait 10 minutes, I'll receive 995 back. If I'm willing to wait a completely arbitrary amount of time where I won't have to pay a fee whatsoever, I could be waiting infinite amount of time.
I'm curious what the incentives for the arbitrageurs in this ecosystem would be. Like, say, a user wants to trade one ETH where market price is $1,000, and an arbitrageur says, "Oh, I found a better deal for 1,020." Why would they not just say, "Let me go make that trade and make that money myself," versus certain users?
So users get to choose which bundler they want to use. So arbitrageurs are incentivized to give some of that money back to the user so that users will choose them in the future. And realistically, it won't be the users themselves making those decisions. We're going to have the application automatically look at past statistics and see which arbitrageurs performed the best and which ones gave the best rates. But the user will be able to decide that if they want to.
And realistically, if I'm a user and I'm looking to swap cryptocurrency, I'm sure 99% of the people in this room just went onto uniswap.org and assumed they would have the best price. These professional arbitrage traders, they do this for a living, and really what we're doing is we're giving them a front on user liquidity. In exchange, they get to execute these arbitrage opportunities. They're incentivized to share the profit with the user.
Samir.
Thank you so much.